Atdhe, thank you for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
So I feel like it would be a good place to start off with your name and the meaning of your name. And from a quick Google search, I found out that it roughly translates to motherland or homeland. And so much of what you've done has been almost about finding yourself and finding your motherland or homeland in the process of meeting all these people, which we'll get to. But talk to me about your name. Was there any significance when your parents named you?
Wow. I'm loving how this podcast is starting out because most people try to move past my name as quickly as possible because they can't pronounce it. But I love that you are asking about it because my name actually means a lot to me. It's an Albanian name, and I'm very proud to be Albanian. And you are correct. The name means motherland. So the name serves as a reminder, and that word serves as a reminder of this is our land, and we care about it.
It's beautiful. And you mentioned Kosovo, and I'm sure we'll get to that at some point. But first, I want to talk about college for you. You graduated in 3 years with a double major. What was that experience like?
Great question. Great question. These guys does research. That's what I like. So I graduated with double major in 3 years. Could have been a triple major, if I had just done one extra class. But look, I am very dedicated to whatever project is at hand for me, and I try to excel to the highest level I possibly could. And college, luckily, was something that I really loved. I had a great experience in. I'm a lifelong student, and so I really love the learning environment. I love learning. I love the class environment, and I just jumped in the deep end. Before I even started college, I had taken 2 classes at the campus I ended up going to school to, and then every summer and winter semester, while my classmates were enjoying their well-deserved break, I was registering for classes. Summers I would treat it just like a regular semester. I'd have 5-6 classes in the summer, and it wasn't like a pain thing. It wasn't like I gotta do it. No, it was like I love learning, and it was such an awesome opportunity. And I ended up being offered a job before graduation, so I just took it, and I've been running ever since.
Where does that dedication come from?
I think it's a little bit has to do with genetic. My father's very similar. My sister's very similar. My brother's very similar. We're a very hardworking family, and also we touched on in the beginning. It's an Albanian thing as well. We are very hardworking people who didn't come from much, but have really accomplished a lot all over the world. And I found what I love, and I'm motivated by my love of what I do.
And what you do, and what I assume you're talking about, is filmmaking. And I want to go to you going to and catching lightning in a bottle. I've heard you say this so many times, lightning in a bottle. But for me, from hearing and researching your story, you're talking about lightning in a bottle when you created the Are You Happy TikTok page. But when researching your story, I found you catching lightning in a bottle when you made your first film. Is that accurate?
You could say that, yeah. Yeah, Are You Happy is one of my many successes, I'm proud to say.
So let's get to that and that page, right? It's like you go downstairs to your brother in April of 2020 and you say to him, I'm going to blow up on TikTok. What made you so confident that you were going to actually do what you ended up doing?
I'm very intimately aware of entertainment, content, social media platforms, and when I was creating this series, I didn't envision it being on TikTok. I didn't even know what TikTok was when I started this series. Um, but when I saw the way the algorithm operated on TikTok, within an hour of uploading, like within an hour of uploading 3 videos, they each had like 300 to 600 views. And I knew what that meant right away. I was like, oh, I see. And like I ended up, affirming that what I realized then later when I learned more about the algorithm. But what I realized was this is basically what YouTube was in 2007, 2008. And I knew exactly what I like because I was a young kid with no resources during that time. But here I am, more mature with resources and with time. And I was like, okay, I know exactly what I need to do to capitalize on this. And that's why I ran to my brother. I was like, we got 300 views. We're going viral. I know what I have to do.
Yeah, and it's so crazy because you started the project in February 2019. So you had a year's worth of content. So while everyone else was struggling to figure out what content should I put up, what should I do, you were already sitting on that content to create a documentary. And how did you decide which pieces to put out first? Or was it just whatever hit you? What was the thought process there?
Great question. When I was deciding what content to post, I was going back in my memory, thinking what were the best experiences, what was the best story, what was the best interview, and I started with the best of the best and kind of just worked down from there.
Mm. One thing that struck me was you saying this project gave you a sense of, or you became closer to God. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, here I am talking about how I was able to graduate college early. I was offered a job, before I graduated. I'm very focused and hardworking. A lot of that is plan based. I say this is what I need to do to graduate within this amount of time and get this job and have this salary by this time. And Are You Happy was one in where, similar to my other projects, I had a plan written out, exactly what I needed to do to execute, and nothing went according to plan. It actually went the opposite. It was a very difficult process, but at the end of it, I made it through that hump. Well, actually, even before, like as I kind of let go and just said, you know what, nothing's going according to plan. Let's just see what happens. A plan started to unearth itself that was much better and bigger than anything I could have imagined. And I realized it was at work the whole time. It started when I was just a kid. It had its effect when I was in high school, in college, in the workplace, and then at that moment when I was shooting. I realized I was like, wow, I'm having all these amazing experiences. Could it be that there was a plan at work this whole time I was not aware of? I think so.
One of the experiences you probably couldn't have planned is getting robbed your first day in India. What happened there?
Yeah, it was a pretty jarring experience. So like I said, nothing went to plan. I had planned to go to India with a couple of my college friends, have a great time, travel, see the culture, see the places. First night, um, we go out and we're having a good old time, and all of a sudden, my phone completely gone. Now, a phone to a regular person is just, it's $1,000 loss. It sucks. But a phone to me, a filmmaker, a documentarian, traveling India, has footage on that phone. That's not just $1,000. That's great content, meaningful content that's just completely lost. Um, and then also, before I left India, I came to India with 2 bags, and then I left with one, because I dealt with a lot of issues. We could get into that, but yeah, that's basically the overall story.
Yeah, what happened with the second bag?
Yeah, India emptied me. The first night I got my phone stolen. Um, I ended up getting sick, so it literally emptied me. And then finally, when it was my last day there, my day to leave, I go there with my 2 bags, just ready to leave. I had 2 bags because I needed a bag to go into India, and then I was traveling to another country after, where I was staying more long term, like a 6 month period. So I went to India with 2 bags, and on the last day, I was at the airport, and India is a great place, love it. But the airport's a little rundown, and a little bit of tomfoolery and corruption. So when they saw, perhaps when they saw a white American, or a foreigner rather, I'll say that. Obviously I'm a foreigner as a white American in their land. They thought maybe they could capitalize on that. So it was, if I wanted to bring this bag on, it was an additional $500 to bring it. And I said, you know what? Okay, let's put it on the credit card. I have my credit card. Oh no, we only accept cash. We only accept cash. Oh, you only accept cash. I see. Okay, so it's, what am I, at a deli or am I at an airport over here? And so I didn't have $500 cash. So I had to literally leave a bag there. They said, that's actually, if you can't afford it, you could just leave your bag right there. We'll take care of it. And that was that.
You must deal with so many situations that anger you, that upset you. How do you move past that and just get on to your next destination and leave it in the past?
Great question. What this series has taught me is life is full of ups and downs. And as long as you can ride it out and stay consistent when you're in those downs, you will inevitably be brought back up. So whenever I am having a difficult time, whenever I'm angry, frustrated, feel betrayed, I will do my best to not let my emotions get the best of me. I'll try to stay consistent in what I was doing the day before, and just keep being consistent until I've ridden out that lull and I'm back up again. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult, but just keeping your head up, right above water when you're being shoved down, will eventually, a wave will eventually pick you up and you'll be put on shore.
That's a beautiful metaphor. Is there anything you specifically do? Any practice you specifically do on that journey of keeping your head above the water?
Consistency is key. I'm not going to say, hey, you need to wake up an hour earlier, do your morning pages, do your meditation, do your affirmations, like to each their own. But whatever you decide on, be consistent and do it every day. I would say I lead a pretty unhealthy life, as it pertains to my routine, because it's literally bed, and before I get up, my phone is right here. And then the next thing I do after I get up is I sit in this chair and I just consistently put in work. And then 1 hour out of this, I go out and I run. I just let it out and I really push myself. And then I get back here, and then I continue working. And then that's broken up by conversations like this or a meal. And so that's my consistency. I deliver that 365 days a year. It's not very healthy, but at least at this period of my life, I'm still young. I can overcome it. So yeah, consistency.
You mentioned in one of your social media live streams that you should keep your phone outside of the bedroom or on the other side of the room. And the most important app on a phone is the alarm clock. And I thought that was so fascinating. What does that mean exactly?
Great. Yeah, great. So this guy's good. He's good. So the most important app on your phone is not Instagram or Facebook. It's not the internet. It is not your camera. It's actually the alarm clock, because it's the app that brought all of those things I just listed, from being, a phone that, used to hang up on the wall and had a cord that, you just could take with you 6 feet away. It brought it from that to the most intimate place in your entire house, and where only lovers and family will ever reside. It's right there. Sometimes it's even closer than a lover, because before you kiss them, you look at the phone. And the reason I brought it that way is because the alarm clock, it's instead of kissing your lover before you go to sleep and after you wake up, you're setting your alarm before you go to sleep, and then you're hitting snooze on the alarm, after you wake up. So yeah, it's a pretty intense app.
As someone who creates so much content and is feeding these algorithms so much, I don't think people realize that those people are also most at the mercy of the algorithms themselves. How have you managed to not get sucked into the algorithm while creating content?
You mean sucked into the algorithm by watching other people's content?
Mm-hmm.
Great question. We call it the warp around here. And these apps are very, very good at keeping you on them. So whenever one of us is in the warp, we'll say, "Hey, are you in the warp?" And it kind of takes that like, "Whoa, yeah, shit, I'm in the warp." And then I'll put it down and then I'll get back to work. But let me put it like this for your listeners. These are multi-billion-dollar companies with thousands of employees, and everything from their sales team to their marketing team to their tech team to their design team to their management team to HR, every single one of these employees and every single dollar spent at all these companies have one motivating factor: keep the user on the app for as long as possible. So think about it. There's billions of dollars being put in to grab as much of your attention as possible. So let me tell you, they're very, very good at doing it, and don't underestimate them. Every single shade, every single color that is on a button, every shade of that color, every placement of the button, they're all tried and tested. And their sample size is huge. There's billions of people on these apps, so they could make pretty solid psychological based decisions on design and algorithm and all that, and it works really well. So be careful.
You mentioned that you are with a group of people and you refer to the warp as something where you guys are talking to each other. What group of people are you talking about specifically?
Well, it's just me and my girlfriend that live here in this apartment, and we kind of keep tabs on each other. Are You Happy is a pretty large team, but I was just referencing the personal the personal location here where I'm working, and then I see a video, and then before I know it's yeah.
Yeah, it happens to all of us. And something that I've found is helpful is putting my phone on grayscale, which I'll put down below for anyone who's interested, a link to how to do that.
I do that too.
So I want to transition to something you said in another podcast. When I was doing research, you said soft no's are your favorite. Why are soft no's your favorite?
Soft no's are my favorite. Well, you mean in response to the "Are you happy?" question?
Yes.
There's just so much behind them. Like somebody says, nah, or somebody says, oh, I'm really happy. With soft no's, imagine, so you ask them if they're happy, that there's a lot behind whatever was just said, and there's a lot to unpack, and usually those people have really gone through it. So yeah, I love those answers.
You've talked to so many people and seen so much from humanity. I think you've probably interacted with more people than some people do in their entire lifetime from your travels, it seems like. What is the overarching sense of humanity can you gain from all those interactions?
Like, what is my take on humanity based off these interactions? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And how has it changed you and shifted you as a human being?
Great question. I think that the timing of Are You Happy is very interesting because it was at a very difficult time for the entire world as it pertains to this so-called pandemic. And it just kind of, when the whole world was in the throes of this thing, I was kind of like head down, focused on creating this content that was shot before it. And while there was so much adversity between us, the show constantly reminded me that, look, the world is a beautiful place with beautiful people. And we are at our core, we are loving people. We all want the same thing. We all fear the same thing. We all want to be loved. We all want to not be left alone. We all want to be healthy. We all want our family to do well. We all want these similar things, and we all fear the same things. So these things that appear to divide us are fickle. And it takes a show like Are You Happy and like scrolling through my feed to help you realize, like, wow, that we as a humanity are so much bigger than these material things.
Bigger than these material things. Could you break that down for me?
Yeah, like the true core values of our lives, we all relate to them. And there, what marketing might make us think is less important is actually the most important thing. Like, the most important thing of your day is not a notification that you got or how much money you made. Like, the most important part of the day is like, what's for dinner? Are the test results back? Who's picking up the kids from school? Is the laundry done? Have I told you that I loved you? Squeeze me when you come into bed. Those sort of things. Those are like the components of life, and then everything else are details. But we get so caught up in them that we forget to properly prioritize, the true things that make us happy.
What have you done to put that more in your forefront of your mind so that you are practicing the small things and taking note of them and being grateful for them, as opposed to getting lost in the notifications and the meaningless?
Yeah, so I don't watch any TV. I don't own a TV. I don't follow or subscribe to anybody or company reporting on anything. Um, I am uh, I have completely disconnected from subjective views of our world. I am only dealing in the objective, pragmatic truth, meaning what do I see, and that is what I get. And what do I see? I have, limited my radius of the things I care about by about a mile. So, a mile from me, like a mile outside of me is what I really care about. And some people might call me ignorant, privileged, naive. But I'll take that. I'll take the slings and arrows. At the end of the day, like, what's most important to me is my family, my home, my health, their home, their health, our future, my future. And if that's not important to you, then we have two different lifestyles. I do care about the decreasing elephant population rates in Kenya. That is it's a very important issue. But unfortunately, my shoulders are too weak to bear it all. My 1 mile radius is quite enough for me.
It's so fascinating because we've never been able to look at all the world's problems. This is the first generation where you can find out what's going on in Africa. You could find out what's going on in California, and you could find it out in 2 seconds. So what you're doing is returning to the norm that's been our human brains are programmed in to figure out what's going on around us. Is that what you're doing? Returning to the old brain, returning to what has always been?
That's exactly right. You hit the nail on the head there. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah. So you mentioned in another interview that Kosovo is your favorite place. I'm curious if it still is your favorite place, and if it is, why is it your favorite place in the world?
Yes, it is. It is my favorite place in the world. I'm here right now, actually. Look, it's like Europe's best kept secret. Uh, it's full of amazing people. The culture is so rich. They love foreigners. They love Americans. There's no hate here. And like just like a family. It's like you love them for the good, and you also love them for the bad, and you recognize both. And I'm in a position now where I love it so much that I want to help fix the bads. And I say Kosovo, but Kosovo is in the country of Albania, so I'm sort of speaking to Albania as a whole.
Gotcha. Very cool. So it's close to home, literally, too, in your DNA. How does someone like you get received from your friends and family people you've known all your life? What do they say about the journey you've been on and how that's transpired for you?
What would they say? You want to give an answer? Oh, okay. Well, the question he's asking, what do other people say about me? How do other people describe me? You want to come here and give an answer? All right. Here, we'll actually get an answer from somebody who lives with me on a daily basis.
We have a guest shot, a celebrity guest shot.
We also went to college together, so she knows what my college friends say about me too. And we could cut it out if you don't like it. Just cut. It's not live, right?
Yeah. I don't know how to answer the question because I feel like it's different living with you. So like my perspective is like all you do is like in front of like I feel like what people think of you is like, oh my gosh, this guy is so cool. He travels the world and he sees everything. But then like that was your life for a period of time. But now, like, I feel like people underestimate the amount of hard work that actually goes into, like, keeping up with posting every single day or multiple times a day, running this whole community, getting other creators. And so I feel like to me, it's like you're a really hard worker, you're behind a screen and, like, you're creating something that's really big, but people probably are just like, oh, yeah, he's just asking a question, posting a video, and there's not that much that goes into it. I don't know if that answered the question, but that's what I see, but I don't know.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. We had a guest shot there.
Would you say that's the biggest misconception about what you do? Is people believing it's all a celebrity life of traveling around, and what it actually is the hard work?
Yeah, but Danny, I think that I'm sure you know this. I think that applies to like any success in life. Like, the quote is like, success is 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. So I kind of take that, I'm like, success is 99% hard work, and then you only see the 1%. Stuff like this is fun, obviously, and people see this and they're like, oh, this guy has 2 million followers and he's having a great time. But like right after this call and before this call, it's kind of like working hard, calls, figuring things out. So, but you have to put in that 99% to get that 1%.
What annoys you the most about what you do?
You get to a certain level. I was going to say something, but it's being recorded. But let's just say you get to a certain level in life where I'll tell you after. I'll tell you. So I'll say something else. What annoys me most? I love what I do. And perhaps like we were just talking about, like some people might look at it and think it's just this, oh, this guy is just asking people if they're happy. Like, but there's 2,000 people around the world that are submitting videos and going out of their home, walking the streets and interviewing people. And there's one person managing it all. And then there's a publicist, there's editors, there's social media managers, and there's 2.5 million people that are watching on a daily basis. So although the concept is simple, like any successful idea, it's like a simple idea is typically what ends up being very successful.
It's so Did you ever imagine it would get to this point?
I imagine myself getting to this point for sure. And I just kept up the consistency and the volume. I've had a lot of duds. I've had a lot of failed projects. I've had successful projects. And so I just kept plugging away and poking the box, as Steve Jobs says, and then, waiting for something to pop out. And this is like, I imagine this happening a little bit earlier, but it's fine. I'm grateful. And then like the next thing will be even bigger. Obviously, I'm just keeping up the consistency. I'm just continuing to poke.
How do you generate new ideas?
As an artist, our job is to go out, see the world, and report back. So I did a lot of that when I was creating this, and now I'm kind of like empowering others to do it and like help me report back. So yeah, I get my ideas from real life experiences, because what motivates the idea is like I want somebody to sit down watching this and think to themselves, I thought I was the only one, but now I realize I'm not alone anymore. And that feeling is very powerful.
What's a situation that presented itself that people really connected with, and you were so surprised that people connected with that situation?
Yeah, like recently we had one of our videos hit a little over 20 million views, and I had no idea that video was going to do that well. It was just a woman on a hike, but there's something in the frequency of that that really connected with a lot of people.
You've mentioned before that if you try to edit the story and change the frequency of it, people can tell really easily. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, we're constantly inundated with content, and we've become very, very good at discerning real versus fake because we're watching so much of it. If you watch 10 hours of the same thing every day, you're going to be pretty good at like determining what's real and what isn't. So on TikTok, obviously they have like 100 million active users a month, or probably even more than that. So that means like right now there are 100 million people on this app. Let me just make sure I got that stat right. Active users on TikTok. Okay, so that's actually just the United States.
Wow.
Okay, so it's 100 million monthly active users and about 50 million every day. So 50 million people are on it right now. So your question, I'm sorry, repeat your question. Now I lost the question.
I'm trying to go back in time to where we were. It's all good. We could just keep it rolling. So you mentioned before about the importance of silence in asking people the question, in just having a conversation with someone. And I've noticed the same thing from doing these interviews, but why do you think silence actually plays such a key role in opening people up?
It's two things. One, every single human wants to speak and share a lot. We keep a lot inside. And if given the opportunity, we will share. It's why therapy is booming. It's like we want it to be from an unbiased perspective, so we can just we can let it out without any judgment. So that's one thing. It's like we're carrying a lot of this with us. And then two is like it's human nature to want to fill in silence. It's quiet, too quiet. If you're just hanging out, it's like, oh, you put on a song. If you're alone, some people put on the TV just to fill the silence. But if you're in conversation and the other party just stops talking and just stares at you blankly, human nature is going to kick in and you're going to talk.
It's so fascinating how that works. And it's why you can never lose when having a conversation, because you're going to learn something. You're going to learn from the silence. You're going to learn from the general, that person always. And if you're willing to be yourself and be vulnerable, then you're undefeatable, which leads me to ask, how do you be vulnerable in these short interactions with people and make people feel safe and comfortable?
Just no judgment, no hidden agenda, giving them silence, not guiding them toward everything, not guiding them toward anything. Like I interviewed somebody who said, "Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy because I'm a garbage man." And a normal person will either be like, "Hmm," or will say, "Garbage man, really?" And when he said that, I just stared at him, no judgment, and then silence. And then he said, "You know, it's the happiest I've ever been. No job has made me happier." More silence. Because yeah, I got friends from the job. I get to see my friends every day. More silent. You know, just like no judgment, and that makes people feel like, okay, I'm not being judged here. I can actually be true with how I'm feeling.
Because of all the viral success you've gained, I look at it similar to an author who writes a best-selling novel or a best-selling book and then has to talk about that book nonstop over and over and over again for the next maybe decade of their life. Is there any part of you that gets sick of the happy talk all the time and wish you could talk about something else?
No, no. I mean, like if you're talking to Bob Dylan, like you're not just going to be like, oh, the times are changing. You know, tell me about that. It's like he's got like 30 hits. You know, if you're talking to Kanye West, like what album are you going to talk about? You know, it's like, so, we've got Are You Happy? But like I literally make ads, and like I've worked for some of the largest companies in the world. Like the library is vast, and it'll just continue to get vaster. I'm like, yeah, personally on me right now, Are You Happy is the biggest thing. But we're just getting started. Like 10 years from now, we're going to look back on this and it'll be like, early stage Picasso. And I'll look at myself and be like, oh God, why? But, by that point we'll have, 30 Are You Happies.
You have this vision and this understanding of yourself greater than what you've done. I feel the same way with this podcast. It's just one piece in the eventual puzzle. But a lot of people don't feel that way. A lot of people feel, oh, I'll never have a hit. Oh, it'll never happen for me. Oh, I'm not talented enough. Oh, I'm not this or that. What would you say to that person?
I'd say like change what it is you're doing. Like if I love this, I've always loved it, and there's no amount of rejection. And trust me, there's been a lot of rejection, but there's no amount of rejection that has ever decreased my motivation or morale by 1%. Because my love for it just exceeded all of that. So if you're saying, oh God, I'll never get that hit, I'll never get those streams, I'll never do this, like, are you even in the right business? Like, what are you doing this for?
Take us through one of those rejections.
What's that?
Take us through a rejection that really stung, that you couldn't believe it at the time, that really hurt you in some sense. Bring us to that moment.
Yeah, well, like I have been interested in film and storytelling my entire life. So like going into New York City between the ages of like 14 to 18 for acting opportunities, film opportunities, rejected from like 99% of those. Looking for an agent, rejected. Looking for funding, rejected. Trying to get that promotion that was promised to me, rejected. All these things, but it's not, like right now it doesn't, I don't even like the sound of me saying all these things because I never even think about them, and they don't really bother me because obviously my successes have totally exceeded my rejections, and those people are kind of like, they're looking back now and they think, God, what? I mean, imagine how they must feel. Imagine how, the owner of a company that rejected me must feel now that we're talking about millions.
Yeah. And I was just reading something from Chris Bosh, the NBA player, who said I don't like using my haters as fuel because that gives them power in a sense. And I've done that before. And I get that same energy from you when you're talking about the rejections, saying, oh, I don't really like how I'm saying it about the rejections, because it's not about that. It's about the success and fueling the success and living my truth. Is that correct?
Yeah. And you got to love the process too. Like I kind of sometimes I tell people, I'm like, please don't tell me no, or else I'm going to do it. Like, so I love the process. And whenever people tell me I can't do something, whenever it's a challenge, I'm like, oh shit, well now I got to do it. And then I do it, and I do it really well.
What's an example of that?
Like, Are You Happy, for example, where I had a company that was, originally funding it and behind it. And then they were like, we're killing this project. We're not doing this project. I'm like, oh, we're not doing it? Really? Guess what? Now we're doing it. And now watch, we're going to do it. And they're like, no, we really can't. I'm like, okay, all right. Don't worry. Sometimes people have to say no 10 times before they say yes. That's Les Brown. So I got in my car and I got my money and I did a test. And then I snuck my way to dinner with them. And I pulled out my laptop and I said, look, we did it. And I said, wow, I guess we really did do it. And I'm like, all right, now we're going to do it? And they're like, nah, we're still not going to do it. I'm like, no, we're going to do it. So I just uploaded my test. And guess what? Now I'm doing it and they can't do it.
Wow. That's crazy. So this has been a great conversation. I've learned so much about you from you.
You got me fired up over here. You got me fired up.
I love it, man. I absolutely love it. With that fire, give the people a 60-second talk about pursuing their highest version in some capacity. What would you say to that person who's listening to this podcast right now, trying to pursue their highest version? Talk to that person.
I will talk to, I often equate TikTok now to YouTube 2007. So it's, over 10 years since that, it's going on. Yeah, it's over 10 years. So for somebody who is me, a 15-year-old kid who wants to do well, wants to be successful, I'm 10 years from now, just see this as a 10-year journey and not a 4-year journey, and just keep your head down. Don't look up, don't lose focus, just keep doing what you're doing and increase your volume times 10, and just keep working at it. If you increase your volume, then that 10-year duration will be much shorter. It'll probably go down to 5 years. And if you increase it by 15, guess what? It'll go down to 2 years. So keep your volume high. You'll learn a lot from the mistakes that you'll make, and your sample size of data to decide your next step will be a lot greater, and you'll be able to make more data-based decisions. And look, if you're stuck and you're like, I don't know what to do. I know I got this passion. I know I got this fire inside of me. I know I'm going to be good. I know I'm going to be great, but I don't know how I'm going to do it. Just document your process, document your life, document what you do on a daily basis, and post 10 times a day. And then the people will tell you.
I'm absolutely fired up right now. I could run through a brick wall. Thank you for taking the time, my friend. This has been great. Where can people find more from you?
Look up Are You Happy Official on Instagram. Shoot me a DM and we'll talk there.
Awesome. Link it down below so you can click it real easy. Thank you, my friend. And really appreciate you.
No problem. I want to see, I used to do this on my podcast. Now that we're at the end, and usually when people stop or skip or whatever, I want to see the power of your audience. So if you're still listening to this, if you're listening to Danny's podcast here, I want you to go to Danny's DM and send him a fire emoji. Send him a fire emoji. Let's just leave it at that. Don't put it in the description, but it's just a test. So if you're still listening to this, Danny, give them your IG or whatever it is. And I want whoever is listening to this to send you a fire emoji.
I love it. Twitter. Hey, Danny Miranda on Twitter. And yeah, I hope I get a lot of fire emojis.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me know how it goes. Dude, this has been awesome. I really appreciate it.